I am God, God, I am sovereign, sovereign, I am free, free. I am God, I am God.
As humanity traverses the collective dark night of the soul, we came together and decided to step up amongst so much insanity, to be an authentic, heart-centered and unified voice in sharing our personal stories and experiences, with the hope of inspiring and awakening others into their true nature as the eternal God, light and love that we are. In this critical time of evolution, the time is now to choose peace and harmlessness, to seek alignment with truth and courage. The time is now to cultivate our soul, to understand our multi-dimensional selves, whilst guarding and protecting our minds. Let us break down the walls of separation and classification. Let's reconnect our hearts to the oneness. Will you take steps to heal yourself, to choose pro-human values? Our inner work is to free ourselves from pain and delusion, so we can live with clarity and coherence in service to others and our communities. What is the agenda of the anti-human controllers? What is the agenda of divide and conquer? Imagine what life could be like right now if you lived on this planet in harmless actions. How can we stand up for our inherent human rights? Can we do the right thing in the face of tyranny, in reclaiming our sovereign freedom, demanding truthful information and full disclosure? For one and for all, we are the Truth Pulse.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Truth Pulse. Today we are sharing information on our human lineage and roles as Earthseeds, Starseeds, some information on Galactic Wars, and our human multidimensional aspects. Hi, my name is SonYA, and we have Linda, and we have Trinity joining us today as well. And we wanted to let you know that all the information here has been sourced from the Energetic Synthesis Ascension Glossary. So thanks again to Lisa, Renee, and Tomas, our Ascension guides, and to our Crystal Star Guardian teams for this guidance and information. So I feel that the main goal of this broadcast today is to inform our fellow humans that we are all very special people. When we were trying to come up with ideas, okay, what's our next podcast going to be about? And I felt strongly that I wanted to get a message out to my fellow humans, you know, that we have a special role here to play. We have important things to do here while on planet Earth. And I wanted to do some research on that and present that to you, to present that to the listeners. And mainly, we have been brainwashed to believe that, you know, false things about ourselves. What we have been taught and brainwashed to believe about ourselves isn't true. We are so much more than that. We've been locked in a consciousness trap, basically. And so we are now residing within an ascension timeline for humanity to become emancipated towards cosmic citizenship. And so that was, you know, the message I wanted to relay to the listeners. And I wanted to know, maybe if you, Trinity or Linda, did you have something else that you wanted to say regarding maybe the importance of letting our listeners know who they are, and or anything that you wanted to share?
Yes, I mean, the theme really, when you look at what's happening around us, the importance of trying to stay sane and trying to keep our inner strength and inner peace and calm. And, you know, I think it's important that we know where we come from, where we're going, and not to keep our, you know, our sort of so much focus on everything that's happening, but really focusing on, you know, who we are as human beings, and what does that mean. And, you know, even if it's on a daily basis of just finding ways of you know, finding your own inner truth. I think everyone's just really aiming for looking at truth and aiming for truth and what it means to them, and what your own truth is as well. It's you know, it's a big word for lots of different layers and levels, and so yeah, I think this is what, you know, I feel that it's an important subject, that what we're going to be discussing today, and you know, the mainstream narrative is very different than it's not that supportive. You know, it wants us to keep us in this consciousness trap.
Right.
You know, that's a very important point that you made, SonYA. So, you know, it's you know, we're working towards, you know, being on a positive timeline, and you know, it's all about Ascension as well as the Ascension timeline of disclosure. You know, and Ascension means, you know, what learning about our multidimensional selves and our multidimensional universe and all that it incorporates.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well said. Thank you on that. And Trinity, did you have anything to add on that, or?
I think I'll pass. I think I agree with all this, and I think we'll cover probably about like our DNA potential and our sort of so-called junk DNA. I think we'll probably cover it a bit later. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for that. And I also wanted to mention to the listeners, if you could please bear with me. I will speak for myself only. Maybe I'm speaking for both Linda and Trinity. I don't know. You can speak for yourself. But as we sift through this galactic history information, okay, I personally found it quite challenging to research this information and to integrate it. And so I've had to take a lot of notes. I'm relying heavily upon the wonderful information in the Ascension Glossary, and I'm relying on intuition and resonance. And I wanted to mention that, you know, I had to work through what felt like AI and amnesiac barriers as I was reading the information and researching it. I think that's an important, I would say, piece of information to share, because the information is something that may sound foreign to people as when they first hear it. But again, if it's been said, if there is context for, you know, what has happened, it makes it easier to, I suppose, open up to it, learn it, integrate it. Do either of you have a better way to say that? Once we have context, maybe the information starts to come in, we open up to the higher dimensions, higher sensory perception. Anything you wanted to add on that?
Spot on. Yes, yes. If we don't have the context for our memories that will usually come to us maybe via information, via some signals which will come to our nervous system, we won't be able to decipher this, and we will possibly decipher it in a best possible way based on 3D narrative. And, you know, it's not going to work for us now, especially during these times of ascension. So when the planet is losing density, then we are losing density, then things are sort of evolving, and opportunities are opening for the evolution. You know, we are in that cycle. So definitely we need to have the courage to touch upon this material, all of us, and try to understand. I could relate. I felt the same when I was researching it. It's just like some parts of the probably holographic inserts and AI, anything in the brain, the blockages, it's almost like the information is so multifaceted and so kind of, it's like a download. It has different sort of pockets in there, and the mind just refusing. You know, it takes time to train the mind to sort of start understanding this information, processing, and it takes time to process. So we're all in this together. So I just want to say to the listeners and to us, like, you know, we just need to keep going and keep training that muscle. It's like a muscle. We just need to keep training it, keep using it. Yeah. So yeah, I can relate to that.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Anything else?
Yeah, I was just thinking about you know, how so many different timelines that we've had, you know, they carry a weight of, you know, our emotions, you know, the trauma, our shadow selves. And so when you think about our shadow body, it holds a lot of our multidimensional aspects of all these different timelines. And so, you know, we might not consciously be aware of what we're processing, but it's a timeline can come up, you know, and also it can be easily manipulated by the NAA as well. You know, they like to trigger our shadow bodies and our pain bodies. So it's really just being, you know, trying to be focused and aware of just dealing with your emotions as well. You know, when you're looking at any of this galactic history, or if you just feel it intuitively as well. You know, I think for a lot of people, you know, even without this new information, I think a lot of it's going on for a lot of people. You know, we can't help, you know, like Trinity said, we're clearing the density. So all this density is being cleared. So it's really just about being centered around all what's being cleared, you know, and it's very essential about, it's all interlinked and interlaid, you know, it's all these layers, which all ties in with timelines. You know, it's part of us, it's part of our history. And it's very, yeah, as you both said, it's very difficult for the mind to get its head wrapped around it. But I think if you encompass, you know, more of like your light body, and just have an awareness of how your light body also has an intelligence for you know, the processing to happen. Does that make sense? You know, that density sort of clears as well. It's almost like we're all, like you say, we're in it together. So, you know, collectively, you know, our Mother Earth and this universe is just helping us clear it as well. Definitely.
Yeah. It's like almost like having the intention, at least have the intention, right? And then it builds, right? It builds. Yeah. That's what I found.
And I just briefly add, we know, but obviously being mindful that the aggressive mind control is specifically targeting our nervous system, targeting us not to remember. NAA does not want us to remember, because if we remember that, you know, we were invaded by extraterrestrial species who are still walking and breathing on this earth via, you know, different forms which they find here to sort of genetically modify so that they can kind of sort of manipulate them and use them as their bodies. So they're still, you know, the controllers are still here. So they don't want us to, I mean, there is aggressive war over not waking up, not letting us having this information, not letting us heal our, you know, traumas, and actually weaponizing our unhealed traumas so that we become dark portals, you know, because our trauma, as Linda, you mentioned, our trauma could be weaponized as a dark portal. And a lot of people don't realize that they are not single soul occupants. You know, they don't realize that there are like other entities that are utilizing this unhealed traumatic pockets in the shadow body and the pain body, which is also part of the shadow body. So this is all like, all these little fragments are there, and these entities are utilizing them and weaponizing us against ourselves and each other, right? So it's important to know that when we come across a material like this, when we suddenly have some kind of resistance to it, we need to ask ourselves, is this aggressive? Am I being targeted? Is this mind control? Is there some kind of program in my nervous system and in my brain which is basically telling me to start yawning or doing something or feeling tired? So it's a good sort of context. It's good to know, because once we know, we can collapse it and persevere, and you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Look at those trigger points that come up. You know, you
yeah,
could just start feeling angry, you know, which is another trauma sign. It's these trigger points that we need to look at and be very gentle with ourselves as we process this information. You know, just do it step by step, little bit by little bit, because if you overwhelm yourself too much, you've got too much to deal with then, you know, and then that's not good.
Yeah. Good
Anyway,
points
let's get
from
on.
both of you. Thank you on that. Yeah. Well, I feel that we could start with our human lineage then, you know, in referencing what was mentioned earlier and wanting to express, you know, the important roles that we have here as human beings on this planet, you know, and I feel that in order to rehabilitate and reconnect with our divine purpose as human beings, it would be helpful to understand our lineage. So who are we originally seeded from? Right? The great mysteries, and there's all kinds of information out there, and you'll have to take only what resonates, but we will bring to you the crystal star perspective. And it is this. The cosmic trinity contains 3 emanations that are further downstepped and represented in the universal trinity, that is the God source field for our entire universal time matrix. So these are the 3 primal light and sound fields, which hold the ray expressions of 13th dimensional blue ray mother arc, 14th dimensional golden ray son of Christos, and 15th dimensional magenta ray father arc. So these are the 3 primal light and sound fields which make up the ray aspects of our entire universal creation in our universal time matrix. And so all biological forms in all of our harmonic universes are created from this trinity of light and sound. So again, some information that might be unfamiliar to people, but kind of mull that around. And is there anything, Trinity, Linda, you wanted to add, or should I keep going for a little bit?
I'm just thinking maybe our listeners need to, maybe we need to clarify for our listeners the harmonic universe and universal time matrix. Do we have clarification, just to explain briefly what is the universal time matrix? Our universal time matrix consists of harmonic universes, and there are, what, do we have information on that?
I would say it's a combination of timelines and vector codes to, I would say, set up for us to experience ourselves in this physical form. It's the grand experiment for humanity. Either of you want to add anything to that?
Well, Linda, do you have anything on that, or I can share what I understand. I could share briefly how I understand it.
Yeah, you go
Yeah.
ahead.
So basically, the universal time matrix, our universal time matrix has like consists of 5. It's like 5 harmonic universes, and each one of them has got like 3 densities, 3 levels. So we are living, so our harmonic universe is harmonic universe 1, and it consists of dimension 1, 2, and 3. And this is a personality matrix. So this is our 3D Earth. Then we have a harmonic universe 2, which is density 2, which is the soul matrix. So this is where we have dimension 4, which is the heart. 5, it kind of corresponds to the chakra 4, 5, and 6. So this is density. So this is harmonic universe 2. And then we have harmonic universe 3, which is the monadic density, where we have, 7, 8, 9. Next harmonic universe will be density, 10, 11, 12. And this is the avatar matrix. And then what SonYA was saying at the beginning, the founder race are residing in the beyond time and space. So the fifth harmonic universe is non-dimensionalized. So it's like it's beyond time and space, and there are no form in there. If I maybe not exactly accurate, but that's how I understand. I definitely know that the fifth harmonic universe doesn't have any kind of form. Everything exists as light and sound, like SonYA said. It's a primal rays of light and sound from which everything then gets descended into the form, and it starts from the avatar level, monadic level, soul, and comes all the way to the 3D earth.
Right.
That's my understanding as well. Yes, and so those harmonics and those dimensions, so tie in also with the 12 spheres of the 12 tree grid,
Yes.
which then tie in with the 12 tree grid of the planetary grid.
The 12 tree grid is it's our like a template. It's our morphogenetic blueprint. Yes, it's our kind of original template.
Yes.
That again,
yes.
we'll probably talk
Yes.
about that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. It ties in with the light body and all of that. And the ego.
Yeah, so it's like harmonic universe. It's almost like a time matrix. So maybe there are more than one time matrices like all over the multiverse, but our specific time matrix has this kind of like density levels, and we exist as multidimensional beings on each of those density levels. Like we exist on this density as a 3D person, and then there is a soul, is going to be a soul person, or not, a soul being, and then there's going to be a monadic being, is going to be an avatar. So when we talk about avatars, we are actually all avatars. And then it's going to be then the next.
And we're existing in all of those levels and layers at the same time. So you talk about the soul matrix, that's 4, 5, 6, monadic 7, 8, 9.
Yes.
Avatar 10, 11, 12. Yes. And then we also have our God cells in the God worlds. Yeah.
And it all ties into our 12-strand DNA. Yeah. 12-strand DNA.
Yes.
So, which is like obviously the mind control. The mind control does everything. So we don't even try to understand our fourth, our soul level, which is the 4, 5, 6 level. Yeah. The astral plane, and the soul matrix. They, anyway, we're not talking about mind control. We're not.
It's good. You make some good points, though. Thanks for tying that in. It helps to explain. And so we have the cosmic Trinity level, and then we downstep that to the universal Trinity level. And these primal light and sound fields individuated themselves into emanations known as the Emerald Order, the Gold Order, and the Amethyst Order. And these orders are synonymous with the Crystal Star Guardians and or Christos founder races, our ancient ancestors, who are hosting this ascension. And they protect the rights and the spiritual liberation for all living things to evolve as God sovereign free. So very lovely. Thank you. Very nice. And so as you can probably tell, listeners, what we're doing is we're trying to go from the top to bottom. We're trying to paint a picture of where we come from as humans. And so this is what we're doing here. So the cosmic, the universal, and then the Emerald Order is what we're on next. Emerald Order of Elohim seeded the Lyrin, Syrian, Anahazi, feline Elohim races. That was a mouthful. Through the Lyrin 12th dimensional stargate, Aramatena. Okay. And a little bit about the Anahazi race is this Lyrin, Syrian, Anahazi race are feline hominid, and they are our human elders. So that was exciting for me to find out. I'm like, oh, wow. So that's where I come from. That's where we come from. And they're frequently called the guardian founders. They're a pale-skinned hominid Syrian race who protect the diamond sun body, 12-strand DNA. And something interesting too. The Anahazi light language is the natural language of the Christos founder races, our ancient ancestors. So do either of you speak Anahazi? Oh, it sounds nice. Sounds
Oh,
very
that's so
nice.
funny. I was just gonna, I was gonna say, oh yeah, I speak it, and I was just gonna do some light language there, but no.
Yeah, sounds lovely.
It sounds very Persian, I have to say, Anahazi. I've heard it
Oh,
a little bit.
I'm
It's very, yeah, got that sound. It's a bit like Native American as well.
oh,
Yes, yes. I'm sure it's recorded in our DNA somewhere, and
oh yeah.
we can, yeah, at some point it's retrievable. I am positive.
I agree
Yeah,
with that.
Yeah. Yes.
this is it. I think it's in our cellular knowing. It's in our cells. You know, it's a diamond sun blueprint. So if the
Yeah.
diamond sun blueprint comes into our planet, it comes into us. You know, it's all getting activated. That diamond sun body.
Yes. Good
Yay.
point. Yeah. Good point on that. Well, that was just a bit of information. I hope that was clear enough. It might be a little foreign again, you know, but you can re-listen to this and kind of get a feel for it. And of course, the Ascension Glossary, the ES Ascension Glossary, that website, ascensionglossary.com, you know, is also, it's a very good resource. This is where this information comes from. So you can always as well look up some terms. And so with all of that said, you know, we've got these different, you know, we talked about, you know, the Anuhazi were created, the last race of beings that we just discussed. And then we go into the Lyrin Wars. Okay, the Lyrin Wars. I'm going to actually hand this over to Trinity, and maybe Trinity, you might have something that you want to lead into with that, because we had some big trouble happen in our galactic history.
Yes. Yes. So we were basically seeded, and main galactic war history and human holocaust, the first basically seed event of that happens around 20 million years ago, and it was Lyrin Wars broke, and it was also sort of Orion Wars and victimizer program. But I found something on Ascension Glossary by chance. I'm just not sure whether this, because we had Electric Wars which followed the Lyrin Wars, which were 5 million kind of years ago. So I'm just trying to see whether, but this is a very beautiful piece, and I just wonder whether it will be good for our listeners, because the way it's presented, it's kind of quite understanding. So I'm just trying to think whether it will be a good time to quickly sort of read this passage or not. What do you think? Or shall I just,
No, I mean,
shall I just move into?
well, I think that if in your heart you feel that it's going to be helpful and it's resonant, then you should go with that. That's what it's all about.
Okay, so based on the age of the suns and the planets in our galaxy, it was decided that the human life form was to be created in the Lyran system, which is the avatar timelines in the universal time matrix. So this is what, SonYA, as you already mentioned, we were seeded in this 10, 11, 12 avatar matrix, avatar timelines in the universal time matrix. So the human race lived there for approximately 40 million years, evolving. The orientation of the human race in Lyra was agricultural in nature. Apparently, we were very plentiful and abundant and lived in peace, serving principles of the law of one. Then, one day, huge craft appeared in the sky. A large ship came out of the huge craft and approached the Lyran planet Bila or Bila, and reptilians from Alpha Draconis disembarked. Apparently, the Alpha Draconians and the Lyrans were afraid of each other. Alpha Draconians were apparently the first race in our galaxy to have interstellar space travel and have had this capacity and capability for 4 billion years. So when the Draconians came and saw the Lyran planet with all its abundance and food and natural resources, the Draconians wanted to control it. There was apparently a miscommunication or misunderstanding between the Draconians and the Lyran humans. The Lyrans wanted to know more about the Draconians before some kind of assistance was offered. The Draconians mistook the communication as a refusal and subsequently destroyed 3 of the 14 planets in the Lyran system. The Lyrans were basically defenseless against this war. And the planets Bila, Tekka, and Merk were destroyed. So over 50 million Lyran humans were killed, and it is at this point in history that the Draconians began to look at humans as a food source. This is how the old struggle between the reptilian and human races began. So, and then obviously the point is made here that not all the reptilians or human races are, are dark, or it's there is a mixture. So we kind of need to start sort of trusting our instinct if we come in contact. But basically, this is I thought this piece will be quite interesting because I thought that would be quite a good visual. It's from Ascension Glossary. It's I just stumbled upon it,
I've heard that before. Yeah, I've read it before. Yeah.
It's in Orion Wars, I think. It's when you go for Orion War, you come. There is this little bit of history, but just to basically sort of take from that, around 20 million years ago, this is where the first, obviously, seed Antichrist conflict began, and it is recorded in the time matrix, in our time matrix, and it was to do with the black hole entities that intended to conquer the entire Milky Way system. So I presume that probably happened after this. This was the original kind of destruction, and then maybe they kind of recovered a little bit and things were happening, and then these black hole systems and they were invading via the Orion. They were together with Orion group. So this was based on genetic hatred over the seedings that took place on Gaia and Taurus. So again, SonYA, you were mentioning about the seedings, or not yet? Have you mentioned?
Not quite yet.
So you will be mentioning about the seedings.
But we will be, yes.
Yeah. So there was like a genetic hatred over the seedings, and basically the cradle of Lyra eventually was destroyed with the invading Orion groups. And this caused the destruction of the solar logos, because each, obviously, time matrix has its solar logos. So the solar logos was destructed, and the cosmic Christos, the avatar matrix level of consciousness, which is that. So the solar logos is the cosmic Christos level of consciousness, and it has been basically destructed or endeavored to be destructed. So this was the beginning of the damage of the universal portals existing to give way out of this time matrix. So it's kind of like severing that connection with the other universes, other harmonic matrices that existed in the multiverse. It also sort of began the destruction of the Lyran DNA in the human race, and the silicate matrix and diamond sun DNA as well. So it all started sort of, this is kind of gradually deteriorating and being destructed. So this is parts of that. And then we also have something that occurred as a result of that, is the Ring of Fire. So some kind of, so when the cradle of Lyra exploded, this anomaly, known as the Ring of Fire, kind of happened. It's like an opening or a rip in the time-space fabric of the universe. And when this happened, tremendous amounts of fragments and consciousness units of all inhabitants and everything that inhabited that matrix. So tremendous amount of fragments and consciousness units were scattered into various kind of unknown spaces, forming and eventually formed into the shadow body. Yeah, and the shadow body currently is very kind of, what's the word? I mean, we are currently dealing with the huge shadow body, collective shadow body. It's all coming back. It's all coming in cycles. So the universal shadow body is comprised of shadow selves, negative forms, phantom bodies, you know, inverted soul matrix, all that. So this consciousness damage happened for all dimensions simultaneously. This is how serious that event was. And the weather entities, so these entities from the parallel black system called weather, it's the weather system, they utilize the original Lyrin coded fragments to form the phantom matrix. And the phantom matrix is based on the 10, sort of on the specific architecture, which is based on base 10 artificial kind of coding, or it's called artificial tree of life. But they basically formed the 10 base artificial tree of life via the metatronic reversals, which is the anti-life. So they had the technology to somehow reverse the frequency and create this kind of reversals, which enabled them to directly enslave other human species or other living beings so that they can keep consuming. They were parasitic. They were like AI entities that were quite parasitic and needed other beings, other living beings to feed upon. So this was the timeline of their also of installation or propagation of their main mind control weapon, which is victimizer programming software. So that was the kind of, because the victimizer software allows for great polarization. It basically, and the reversal splits the polarity, splits this bonding, female, male, you know, it's all gets split. And great polarization occurs. So the system, instead of being a polarity game, it becomes a very difficult sort of death game here. It's not a polarity anymore. It's so polarized that it's very difficult to unify that. It becomes a very polarized bi-wave system, which is based on these kind of parasitic currents rather than on Trinity architecture. And that's what they wanted, because that created perfect slaves. You know, it was very easy through this victimizer software to create, to turn living creatures into slaves and so that they can harvest their loosh.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really good description. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, just something to add there is that, you know, people ask, how did they do it? You know, if they, what we call the reversal code is basically what they have stolen, what they have captured, what they have cloned from the Christ forces and the, you know, the organic God math. So, you know, it's the anti-Christic of like the reversal code, you know, that's the AI, that's what they have, you know, created over these millions of years to, you know, make this phantom matrix and these, you know, black holes much larger. And then, you know, they've created the architecture, the implants, you know, the taking over of the grids. You know, it's all dimensional frequencies where they have, you know, reversed and created their own phantom creatures, their own devices and architecture, you know, that's built on the body parts, on the fragments, you know, all these explosions that we had from Lyra. You know, so when you think about a soul, you know, the soul is an energy and frequency, the monadic matrix. So all what they can take from us, from this original diamond sun blueprint, that's how they've created, and, you know, that's where they've got all this reversal code from.
Right.
You know, they've distorted it, what they could, you know, get their hands on, basically, which was quite a lot, you know, over these millions of years, especially as we descended and our shadow body grew larger and larger. So then they could manipulate us through our shadow body.
And they're trying to do it now. This is exactly what they're doing now.
Oh yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
because we
It's
are in,
ongoing. Yeah.
yeah, we are kind of in a war over consciousness. We are in a war over timelines because let's just be clear. We have basically two major timelines going at the moment on Earth. One of them is God's sovereign free timeline, and another one is cyborg, AI intelligence, merging with machines timeline, moving into the black hole. So we have the organic 12 tree grid timeline, 12 base architecture, and we have 10 base non-organic artificial AI architecture. And they're pushing, this is what they're pushing. They want as many humans as possible to be sucked into there, because obviously they want humans as food source. So,
Right.
and yeah, so we are in a win. We have to really face to that fact that we are facing these forces, because the forces are polarizing at the moment. Everybody is, so we have satanic forces, we have Luciferian, we have Christic forces, and they're all polarizing. But actually, satanics and Luciferians are all kind of in the same camp. So it's just yeah, it's important to sort of have the connection and know that our shadow body needs to be looked at and cleared, and that's where our memories come in. Our galactic memories help us to clear the shadow body, to bring these pieces together,
Right.
to integrate them, to heal them,
Yeah.
so that we can start dropping this, because it creates density in our body. And then we're very easily swayed, we're very easily controlled, and then by the time we know it, we're already marching towards the AI timeline.
That's
Well
a good
said.
point you made. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good, the way you put it there. Another reason why we're visiting this galactic history. I mean, for me personally, I want to know who I am and where I come from. I'm over these mind slides. I want, this business that goes on. I just really want to know. And so you make a good point in that. That's why we look at this information, to try to gain context for it first, and then eventually, we can build towards opening up to more and more truth and information. And then we're able to access that and clear it, instead of carrying and holding all of that dark density. Yeah, that's a good point. You had mentioned the ring of fire,
Mm-hmm.
and as a result of the explosions, so the rip in the time-space fabric, and so we have that anomaly, and the Guardian teams, had said, okay, well, what are we going to do about this? So that brings us to the different seedings, root race cycles and seedings, and it brings us to 5D Tara, 7D Gaia. And so the Anuhazi created the beings known as the Polarians and Hyperborean humans. Okay, so they were the first root race seated on the fifth dimensional planet Tara, and as well the seventh dimensional Gaia. So we might want to talk about this for a little bit to clarify for the listeners, because it's like the counterpart. So we've got fifth dimensional Tara,
Tara.
yeah, tartar sauce. And then we've got seventh dimensional Gaia, okay, happening at the same time, and we've got third dimensional Earth, or Terra. Okay, so we've got the three forms of planet Earth. And I don't know if there's anything you can add to that. So the reason that I wanted to clarify that a little bit is because I had a hard time wrapping this around my brain as well, because I know that the Hyperboreans were seeded by the Guardian races on planet Tara, fifth dimension, to assist with healing the rip in the space-time fabric, okay, as we mentioned, the Ring of Fire, and also to collect the fragments. But at the same time, it's happening, if I'm saying this correctly, it's happening on 7D Gaia as well. Did I say that correctly? I did.
Yes.
Okay, make sure. It's a bit trippy. It's a lot trippy. It's not a bit trippy. It's a lot trippy. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so that kind of brings us back to what you were saying too, Trinity, you know, about the Electric Wars. Because from my understanding is that after the seeding on Gaia and Tara, another war broke out. And then this was initiated by the Orion groups, Anunnaki, Draconians, Zetas, Necromatons, etc. And this was due to jealousy, etc., of the seeding on, you know, on Tara and Gaia. And did you want to elaborate on that at all? The Electric Wars? Because that's when the
Yes,
big kaboom
yes.
happened, right? With Tara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have Electric Wars, but I too I struggle to wrap my head around this as well. I think it's like the brain tries to understand it in a linear way, and you know, when you look, first seeding is on Gaia, and then no, first seeding is on Tara, but actually it happens simultaneously and it happens in parallel, and it's like, again, it's a different type of, it's interesting. You know, we're moving to different kind of losing density. We're moving to a different way how we perceive reality, and the 3D mind, you see, likes this kind of linear logic,
Right.
kind of, and still tries to understand things in a logical way. So this is good again for our listeners to know, like, the reality that we are moving on is more spiral. It's like the understanding and the processing comes in a kind of spiral way. It's like cycling, so you may be returning again and picking up some pieces from somewhere. So I could relate to that. It's yeah, it takes time for it to settle. So electric wars. So we have Electric Wars, which were 5 million. So the Lyrin Wars, Orion Wars, we've discussed, was like 20 million years, and so there was like stuff going on, different seeding. So we had the seeding now to help now rehabilitate, collect the pieces, repair DNA, and now these black hole entities, and you know, they don't seem to sort of come down. They keep going, they keep attacking, and they keep sort of being jealous. So Electric Wars were initiated by the Orion group, and it was the conflict over the dominion of the Earth realms and human Christ kingdom. Was like, who is gonna seed, who's gonna be seeding where and why they're gonna be seeding there, why can't we seed there? You know, it was like, from what's, you know, historically, who's gonna be living where and why not us? Why are they privileged? Because obviously human template is considered as a royal template, because it was like seeded with the royal houses from Lyra, those three primal, you know, founder races, primal race. So other, obviously, civilizations who perhaps were not so, had such preferential treatment in their eyes, they were a bit jealous and a little bit kind of like having that hatred towards humans for having such preferential treatment. But the reason humans had that preferential treatment is because they were basically had a purpose, and the purpose was to rehabilitate and also to hold the various variety of genetics from different races. So it was like a combined efforts from different kind of races who chimed in their genetics to create this kind of human prototype, which will be able to hold the genetic library of this planet, be the gatekeeper, but also being able to rehabilitate. Am I right here? Or am I mean, if I'm not, I'm sure I'll be corrected at some point.
No, you are right. Linda, did you want to say something? I thought you were going to say something on that. Did you?
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Yeah, I was just thinking about the their genetics, I mean, started dying out as well, you know. So this is also what what's the word I'm looking for? Fires the flames of their hatred of us,
Yes.
because we, you know, we were able to, you know, we are able with the 12 based math, you know, and also being connected to God's source, that, you know, to keep our race lines going, whereas, you know, they're just unable to. So that's why they don't like us. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And then, like you said, Trinity too, you know, well, you know, there's an upset. Why do they get to seed here, not us? And why are they being given this special treatment, etc.? But it wasn't about that. It may have seemed like it was, but my understanding is, hello, didn't you blow up the cradle of Lyra? It's not a bit funny, you know. I laugh, but it's not a bit funny. You know, it's very disturbing. Didn't you do all these terrible things? And now we have this rip in the time and space fabric. We have all these fragments lost out in no man's land somewhere, floating around. Okay, so something needs to be done. And I believe that this is why the humans were created, and it's like the micro to the macro. We're synthesizers. Human beings were made to be synthesizers. They can synthesize and heal and attract and integrate the lost fragments, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and also have this sort of specific blueprint that enables us to travel through various dimensions and through various kind of like intergalactic travel and, you know, interdimensional travel using our own organic vehicle. We don't need spaceships as such, really. We've got our own organic vehicle, our own Merkaba that could actually travel. So this kind of like consciousness, we have our own consciousness transport. So which only beings that have got emotional direct connection is like the direct connection 360 heart, 0 point of the hearts of the mother, father, God, Christ, Sophia. You know, we kind of like have this direct access to the creator field, and that what makes us a trinitized form as a human. Or maybe there are other, I'm sure there are other maybe non-human forms that are also trinitized, but that allows for that sort of like consciousness transport. And apparently that is envied by other entities who do not have emotional body, who do not have that access. They have to parasite. But again, like SonYA said, everybody is offered rehabilitation and growth. So even the entities who do not have an emotional body are offered platforms where they can develop that and stop their parasitic ways and align to the Lord of One, service to others rather than service to self, parasitic. So
Yeah, and just to add to that, so, you know, they basically exist in time. When you're you know, your 360 or body, you know, as you mentioned, it's the time traveling, so that's no time. So that's what they, you know, are really envious of, is that they are stuck in time. So, you know, they can't really go that far. Whereas, you know, for us that can travel in no time, you know, there's that's just that difference to point out, just to add to that as well. You know, that's one way that they just, you know, they're being stopped getting around, basically, because now you know, now down here we have a lot more of this 360 God world going on. So now we have more no time. And as you said, it's a 0 point, it's the 144 harmonics. So when that's all being, you know, developed within your consciousness body, you know, within your light body, then, you know, it's harder for them to manipulate you, basically.
yes, it's interesting because as you were saying this, the thing came to me also to sort of point out the difference between immortality and eternal. So it's like our original template. I mean, we are actually eternal beings, right? Whereas the parasitic beings, they're going for immortality, okay, which is different. So immortality could exist, perpetuate itself and exist, in the parasitic, it's almost like anthropic type of immortality, where the system can continue sort of exist in this locked kind of reality system, but it needs an input from somewhere else. It needs a source to suck upon. But it could exist eternally. It's like eternal looping, immortal, this is immortality, yes? It's kind of constantly looping, whereas eternal is like undestructible, eternal, constantly creating, eternally perpetuating itself. So there is this difference, and this is what the AI tech and the AI entities and all these mutations and mutated and black hole entities, they're all kind of like going and seeking immortality to exist in those kind of black hole systems of AI technology and looping.
And if our, maybe a short little recap of, you know, you both had explained about a little bit about what these entities are and the choices they've made instead of rehabilitation, etc. And again, you know, a little bit about the Orion groups is they are described as a satanic predator mind race. And they use females as slaves or breeders, and while seeking territorial dominion on other planets within their warring and killing culture. So I just wanted to mention that because it helps for the listeners to understand who we are referring to. You know, when we say the Orion group invaded and blew up the cradle of Lyra and blew up planet Tara during the Electric Wars, that type of thing. So just wanted to mention that. And with that, you know, if we then remember the Polarians and Hyperborean humans that were seated on planet Tara, okay, to help repair the time-space rip and to collect the fragments that were floating around in space from, you know, the Lyrin Wars, then Tara was exploded. Okay, so they did it again. They did it on planet Tara. And when that happened, the Hyperboreans split apart from their higher counterpart in Polaris. So I believe that's 5D from 7D. A little bit difficult to wrap my head around that one, but I'm pretty sure that I'm saying that correctly, I hope. Please chime in if I'm not. We have that happened. And so again, the Polarians, Hyperboreans, they were part of the first root races that were ever seeded as a part of spirit coming into a type of body to have a consciousness. Okay, and that splitting and the damage that occurred led to the first separation from the 12-strand DNA. And I think, Trinity, you were talking about that as well a little bit earlier. So that's when it happened. Well, actually, no, because it happened on Lyra too, right? I mean, that must have been the beginning, right? Because you've got your inhabitants there. And then Guardian Forces said, wait, let's continue to allow humans to evolve, and let's try it on Tara this time. So I guess it just continued with that. There's a piece about the wall in time. Trinity, did you want to take us through that a little bit?
Well, just to basically reiterate what you said, that's obviously this electric war was over the sort of 7, you know, Hyperboreans. This is the first root race on the 7D future Earth Gaia. And like you said, yes, it resulted in separation from the 12-strand DNA. So basically, that's it. No more access to the 12 avatar matrix. So avatar matrix is the 10, 11, 12. So definitely no access to the 12th level. And to protect the neighboring civilizations which were outside the solar system and this time matrix from being pulled down into the lower phantom fields for black holes, the founder guardians created the wall in time, which basically was like a quarantine the field around our time matrix, barring us from accessing many higher dimensions. So
It was necessary. Otherwise,
Basically,
like you said,
we
yeah.
became, yeah, it was necessary, but on the same token, we became sort of cut off and like for sort of sealed, and and became a fallen matrix, because the electric war timelines also holds a major causal trigger event for artificial intelligence technology, which started being very consistently brought through dimension by dimension
Right.
into this time matrix. So it was set into motion, and it kind of came from higher dimensions gradually, like let's say from 11th dimension, 10, 9, 8. It was brought here gradually to pull the Earth down the inorganic, to try to pull the Earth into inorganic black hole, or create kind of all these hyperdimensional dead spaces and phantom spaces around, so that they can enter and capitalize on the resources. So it says here that subspace used, yeah. So basically, it was like a lot of damage began, and it was like AI basically. So we've been with AI for a long time. This is like what we're having now isn't something new. It's the history repeating itself, because we're standing here again. AI is unleashing upon us and trying to push us into the, hive mind, cyberborg mentality, kind of, what is it, Internet of all things. Let's connect our minds to the computer. I mean, we've kind of been there already, in a sense, because this infection, AI infection, that infected the whole matrix very, very long time ago anyway. So this is our choice now, to say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to play this game anymore. We want to go into our organic and continue organically. We don't want to be stuck on our phones and computers and like use our consciousness, direct our consciousness and our attention, mind, everything we have, our life force into the machines. We want to go organically. So this is where we as humanity standing now. We this is it. This is where at this crossroad. Very important time. So yeah, no pressure, no pressure, everyone, but we have to make, each one of us has to make that choice, or the choice will be made for us. The choice will be made as soon as first implant goes into the brain. That's it, the choice is made. We're connected to the hive mind, and the brain waves will start being controlled. So
Yes, good points. Yes, thank you on that. And so maybe just a bit of a recap on the reasons for the warring and attacks, and we're going to get into the purpose. Kind of leads nicely into what you were, from what you were saying, Trinity. It leads nicely into the human's purpose in creation. We'll go into more detail on that, and perhaps just a bit of a recap on the reasons for the warring and attacks. So we've had all these wars through history. We have the time-space rip. We have the fragments lost somewhere out in space. And, why? Again, to recap, it's the choice of the invading forces, these intruder races. The Orion Wars were part of the warring conflict over misunderstandings of why humans were created. What the human being is and its potential is not what other forms are experiencing. Both of you said that too. There's kind of a bit of jealousy going on there. It's a very unique prototype. Orion constituents felt humanity was being played a favorite. Humans are new and they're getting all of this preferential treatment. We're ancient beings. What do you mean? What's going on here? There was jealousy. But then the information that is being, I suppose, stressed about this is that what was not being understood is that the only way that we could return back into source creation was to heal the rips and collect the fragments through the human prototype. Again, we had talked about that. We were designed to be synthesizers. So the alternative to creating the human prototype to assist with this was just to close down the universe. So I thought that was interesting. And the information says that happened quite a bit. It's just like, okay, well, let's just shut it down because it's too far gone, etc. But it was such a special circumstance, and there's such special, unique, I guess, I don't know, aspects of this entire universal matrix and everything that's happened here, the founder guardian said, no, let's not just close it down this time. Let's see if we can repair it and bring everything back to God's source. So is there anything that you both wanted to add on that as a recap?
Yeah, I was thinking it raises two questions. The first question is, you know, people might ask, well, how come they deserted us then? You know, why shut it down? You know, so basically we're not saying that, you know, we were deserted or anything like that. It was just basically the decision that was made because of the, you know, the warring and, you know, the factions that basically moved into this universal system and took over. So, you know, in the sort of, with their, with their wisdom or with their foresight, you know, they decided that, you know, that you have to wait for the galaxy, the universe, to sort of, you know, go round into the, what's it called again?
Precession of the equinox, yes, it's the ages of humanity. Yeah, 26, roughly it takes 26, 26,500 years to kind of go
so
the
as
full
you were
circle.
saying about spiraling, this is it, the spiraling of the universe, the spiraling of the galaxies, you know, it's all interlinked. So they had to wait for this, you know, this spiral to start happening. This another cycle, you know, cycles within cycles within cycles. So now this cycle, they had to wait until, you know, they were able to come in and raise the frequencies of this whole universal galaxy. And another question that's raised is that, well, you know, to bring clarity into, so when we talk about Weezer and we talk about the other dimensions, you know, the 11th, and that's where this black hole system was. So when we talk about the controllers, it's not just the controllers on this planet, it's the universal system that we are also trying to describe here as well. You know, it's like the controllers are based in that system in 11D, in 10D, in 9D. You know, they've all got their little, you know, controlling systems and frequencies there, you know, and their minions working for them, which obviously get directed down into this 3D Earth. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of make that clear, you know, for people to sort of wrap their head around it.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, I agree. It is a valid question. People might ask, well, if God exists, a lot of people say, well, if God exists, why we have all this mess here? Yes, but it's kind of like, in some ways, we're all learning here as well. It's kind of like a bit of a learning experiment type of consciousness growth, consciousness development, because it is a hologram. You know, it's a holographic matrix. We are eternal beings. So this is like we are experiencing this form, this reality, this particular kind of events here. So it's kind of also kind of consciousness from the perspective of consciousness experience. Our consciousness entered this for specific experience as well. We're all learning. All of us are going to come out of this. All of us, you know, with some kind of learning from this, and it will be part of our consciousness, which will always be there. You can't take it away from it. So it's it's a bit of both. It's this kind of understanding, like you said, it'll grow. People, it'll come. The greater understanding of this grand scale, grand design.
And also, like I think with SonYA, you mentioned, you know, they had to protect themselves as well. You know, they didn't want this you know, this shadow system to then go on and infect other galaxies and other universes. You know, this is why we were cordoned off, you know, and they've, you know, now they've come back for us. So that's why we're all here, you know, that's why we call it the awakening process, because, you know, we're boots on the ground down here. You know,
yes, and I remember in one of the classes, Lisa Rennie mentioned that some of the extraterrestrial races, they don't realize the amount of mind control. They think humans, like everybody thinks that, oh, humans, they're just warring races. We don't want to be anything to do with them. But, you know, they're really kind of realizing now the amount of mind control and genetic mutation and genetic hybridization that's been done to our template to turn us into, you know, warring race. We're killing each other. Yeah. So it's kind of like an eye-opener for even other extraterrestrial races who are observing and not choosing to get involved. So, there's a lot going on here. Yeah, it certainly is a place to be, as they say. a place, if you're bored, come to Earth. You won't be bored. Yeah,
Ugh.
If you want a challenge,
Oh.
yeah, if you want a big
you'll
challenge,
get it
come
all.
down to Earth.
Yeah.
I thought about it too. You make Linda, when you brought up the points of, people might ask the questions, well, what do you mean? How come we were left here, etc. Because I certainly have thought about that too. I think most of us probably have. We've been tormented and tortured here. Let's be real about this now. Okay, so yeah, I thought about it, and I kind of mulled things around, and I think both of you make good points, and I also think as well, if we remember that Lyra was kind of ambushed, right? Like boom, they couldn't defend themselves, and there it goes. And if you think about it in that way, what came to me is that not only it's a grand experiment in so many ways, right? Being here, like you said too, Linda. Come to planet Earth. Oh, there's Lulu.
Hello.
She's our mascot. Love.
Yeah. Harmonizer, yeah.
She's our harmonizer.
Yeah.
Biological harmonizer, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
But I wanted to add that we're learning. This is kind of adding on to what both of you said. We're learning about these forces that keep doing this. That keep, we're learning about their technology. We're learning about their ways, their energy signatures, etc. To me, that's what came to me. So when I say it's a grand experiment in so many ways, that's what I mean by that. It's like, yeah, we had to wait for the precession of the equinoxes, etc., every 26,000 years, and then we can bring in, because then everything naturally, organically falls into place with all of the planetary alignments, etc. It makes it easier, for the ascension to occur. And so in the meantime, there's this big waiting period, right? And, we certainly learned a lot, and that's kind of, I'm not sure how much we go into the starseed purpose, because you had the different races of beings that were seeded. I guess we'll wait a little bit because I think it's coming up. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that at least during this period of time, I think everybody has learned about these warring races who have chosen to sever their connection from God Force for whatever reason. And it's not like that's coming from a place of judgment. It's like, okay, if you want to do that, okay. But then the problem has been that they've parasitized. They can't stay alive unless they parasitize. And that's been the big issue here. Okay, so well, how are they doing it? Okay, then we go into all that mind control and all the AI, and then they're using reversal code and all of this reversal technology. And so we've learned a lot about them, who they are, and hopefully we can become much smarter and protect ourselves in the future. And whatever it is that there's so much more that's going to come about, right? With the ascension, we're all going to be much more enlightened, right, from this process. I guess it kind of helps me feel a little bit better about it all. Well, if we feel like we're okay on that point, we'll just move into the human's purpose in creation. We'll just break this down into a bit more detail. And again, the whole purpose of this, I would say, this podcast today is to really break down and sift through, understand our galactic history, and understand the purpose of humanity. Instead of just, going around and being bounced around and kicked around by all of these negative forces, and being stuck in these consciousness traps and wearing the masks and just not questioning. Okay, no. So please understand that this is part of what we're doing, why we're doing this today, to help us all to understand and grow and heal and get out of this mess. And so now the human purpose in creation. And, all of us, we can just chime in about this. I'll just read a couple and then just please, you know, chime in. But I wanted to mention something that I found very interesting. The founder races, they wanted us to know as humans, okay, how beautiful and amazing and unique and special the human prototype is. And again, taken from the ES Ascension Glossary. Thank you, Lisa, Renee, and Tomas. But they wanted to drive that home. The other universes and the many forms do not have this. The human being is something very unique, special, and different. So we need to understand that about ourselves. And it's not about, oh, I'm better than you. I know it could sound that way, and we should be careful with our ego, right, Linda? We have to be careful with that negative ego. We have to, we don't want to go there. It's not about that, but it's just to understand who we are. And when we can embody our Diamond Sun blueprint, the original Diamond Sun blueprint of who we are, it's been lost to us, but we're regaining this, okay? Transmigration can happen. So when the human being embodies the full Diamond Sun blueprint, transmigration abilities become available. At this stage, the person can go any place in the cosmos. Trinity, you were mentioning this, and they can choose to go without limitation. This is the status of having cosmic identity, being in full cosmic citizenship, and again, something very special and unique to the Diamond Sun crystal consciousness, and this is full sovereignty and spiritual freedom. Okay, so
I've got a big smile on my face when you read this.
yeah, yeah,
It's like I'm like a Cheshire cat, you know.
yeah. Gives us hope,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's amazing. Yeah, it's just like hearing it, and you kind of articulated it very well. It's powerful because that is our potential. This is our template. This is our biological human form that is capable of that. Although it has been genetically, obviously modified and damaged, and you know all these different implants and mutations. However, we have this potential encoding within us to come back to the original. We can do this, and this is this cycles. At the end of the cycle, it's possible to restore the original blueprint.
Yes, thank you. So if there's no comments, then, so now that we have recapped what the Diamond Sun blueprint is, again, let's go into a little more detail about what we can do here and what our job is as humans, instead of just having barbecues on the weekends and, you know, celebrating the holidays and that kind of thing, which might be kind of fun, but we have a bigger, much bigger job to do, fellow humans. Please listen up. Just kidding. Okay. So again, the damage from the Orion invasion necessitated soul rescue missions that were first organized by the founder guardian races through the Covenant of Palador. Okay, humans, we are responsible to collect the fragments of ourselves from other root race cycles and seedings, which split off due to the damage from the warring races who exploded our planets and bodies. Okay.
I just want to add, sorry, Sonia, I just want to add quickly because I didn't mention that, but during the Electric Wars, and this is what we're healing now. So this damage, this is part of the damage. It's a 2D, 4D split. Can anyone say anything about it? Because I know very, I mean, if anyone knows, if anyone has the...
Oh, it's the 2D, 4D split. It's the being stuck in the astral. So yeah, it's just all the pain and trauma body. So the astral heart and the, you know, the sort of frequencies of the negative ego.
Yes, I think
it's not coming to me. I know it full well. I'm getting wine. I'm getting wine right.
Yes,
yeah, I know it.
It's something. Is it something that we lost our ability? This split disabled our ability to process our emotions through the heart, to process our pain and trauma through the 0-point heart, you know, when you bring it to the heart,
Yes,
and we
you're getting
became
stuck
stuck into the second,
yeah, in the
yes, into the
subconscious.
lower second chakra layer, or the lower second density, second dimensional pain body layer. So all of our pain, instead of being processed through the heart, it became now stuck in our second kind of, and grow, and this is where all the addictions and all these different things. So this is part of our healing now, which needs to happen, Linda.
Yes. Yeah, now it's coming to me. Yeah, and also, so therefore you can't access your 8D heart, which is the permanent seed atom.
That's it. That's it. I
Right.
mean, people might not even know that we have actually, you know, we have our 4-dimensional heart, which is like around where the heart is, but we also have a higher heart, which is now near our, is it the thymus?
Yeah,
Thymus gland,
thymus
yes.
area. Yeah.
And this is where our higher, and this is the neutron window, yes. This is kind of like allows us this kind of access to other dimensions, higher dimensions through this. This is the eighth, through the eighth dimension, whereas the heart, the astral heart on the fourth. So it's all very beautiful how we are constructed. So yeah, I just wanted to mention, because this is part of our healing, what SonYA, you mentioned, the soul rescue mission. I mean, this is probably one of the most difficult things for humanity, is to process this amount of pain, trauma, devastation. You know, imagine the planet suddenly blows up, all the people suddenly blow up, all these consciousness fragments. You know, can you imagine the amount of pain which is stuck somewhere in these pockets of time?
Yeah.
And our job is to heal it, like SonYA and Linda, you both said, bring these fragments and unify them. And we have this opportunity, we're getting help. So yeah, definitely
this
busy.
is why. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you.
Yeah, this is, you know, how they have, you know, as you talked about the looping, they keep looping this pain and trauma, you know, of all these, you know, warring timelines, the times that we've been, you know, with Atlantean cataclysm and, you know, all these different galactic history wars. You know, that's how they have been able to build this sort of shadow of us and manipulate it. As you said, you know, that's what it is. It all ties in together.
Okay, so thank you for those points. And so moving on with a few more details about the purpose in creation for the human being. So just in a nutshell, we're just here to synthesize and bring everything back into wholeness. We're the micro to the macro, and this can only be done in the human form. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Let's move into a little bit of discussion about the root race history and evolutionary cycles. Now, we did talk a little bit about that, of course. We talked about the Hyperboreans, Polarians, and then the split when Tara exploded. They split from each other. Let's just go through a little bit so that we have more of a well-rounded understanding of things. So seeding 1 would be 7D Earth Gaia, and that's the root race 1 and root race 2 Polarians, Hyperboreans. Okay, and then we've had multiple seedings, okay, because of all this warring and the planets blowing up, etc. Guardian races said, okay, let's try it again. Seeding 2 and seeding 3, 5D Earth Tara, 3D Earth. We've got root race 3 through 7. So root race 3 is Lemurians, and they were responsible, if I'm understanding this correctly, to repair the DNA strand number of 2, the second strand. Root race 4, Atlantean DNA strand 3. Root race 5, Aryan DNA strand 4. Root race 6, Muvarian DNA strand 5. And the root race 7, Paradisian Unacetes strand 6, which is future Earth. So the races 3 through 7 took place within seedings 2 and seedings 3, 5D Earth, Tara, and 3D Earth. A little bit on the 12 Essene tribes. And the original 12 Essene tribes are seated on the planet Earth, or the three forms of our planet Earth. Okay, planet Earth, Tara, Gaia. And the 12 Essene tribes are part of the evolution plan that was the result of a covenant of Palador to rescue the lost souls of Tara, making it easier to reclaim these identities when the stargates were finally opened during the end of the Ascension cycle. And basically, the 12 Essene tribes, they make up the entirety of the collective human gene pool. So I thought that was interesting. And are the descendants of the universal tribal shield that has been originally incarnated onto this planet from the future timelines of Tara. So Tara, then to planet Earth. So each of the Essene tribes are responsible for rehabilitating one or more strands of DNA to make whole the 12-strand tribal shield, universal tribal shield. Did I say that correctly? Everything coming back into wholeness. Yeah. Okay. Pretty close.
I'm still processing this type of information, so I won't be able to say whether it's, I am just, I'm taking this in because the information is so multi-dimensional. I mean, it's multifaceted. It has many layers. So,
yes,
you know, I'm processing it on one layer and then another layer comes in. And then, so, I mean, great. I mean, this is very helpful. So.
Yeah. You make a good point. And the more we talk about it, you know, this is why we're like hemming and hawing going, oh, I think this is correct. You know, so thanks for having patience with us because, you know, the more we talk about it, the easier it becomes. I mean, I've already learned so much and I will learn more. It'll become easier, but this is the process. And let's see if there's any new information in here. Who and what we are as Earthseed humans and Starseed humans. Hopefully I can recap a little bit here. So we already learned a great deal about what we're intended to do here as humans, right? And let's recap. We are all sourced from the stars, which is something a little bit mind-bending for a lot of people who haven't really thought about that before. Okay, but we are, right? And we're all extraterrestrial genetic material. Now, that has been forgotten and veiled at this particular time, but that's the process, right? Okay, and the Earth human lineage, there are 7 root races, there are 5 cloister races that make up the Earth gene pool. Original 12 tribes were created as part of the plan that became the Covenant of Palador to rescue the lost souls of Tara. I'm recapping here. The Earthseeds are the 7 root race humans. Each Earthseed root race evolution cycle is to develop one of the first 5 strands of DNA, strands 1 through 5, okay, within the 12-strand DNA original divine human blueprint. And we are responsible to collect the fragments of ourselves from the other root race cycles and seedings. So again, just doing a little recap here. It doesn't hurt to repeat things because as we know, this is difficult information. The cloister races are the starseeds. We haven't talked too much about the starseeds. Okay, starseeds incarnated to hold the dormant DNA strands 7 through 12 in order to have the template of the divine human intact through the cycles of evolution so that humans would be able to advance. So in a nutshell, maybe one of you can explain it a little better than me if you wanted to chime in at all. But remember what we happened throughout the history, right? And all of the different seedings and the warring and the fragmentation and the explosions, etc. And so we've got all kinds of crazy AI going on and consciousness traps, and everybody's trapped and everybody is being controlled and we're all enslaved here, right? Sounds depressing, but that's what happened, if I'm correct. And that's certainly what goes on nowadays as well. We're dealing with all of this repeated timelines, like you said, Linda and Trinity, both of you said that. And right, starseeds come in and we incarnate to help with the process now because Earthseeds are kind of locked down now. Their original job was what we had talked about. We got locked down into all this AI phantom systems. Starseeds come in with higher DNA potential to try and help help it along to keep alive the 12-strand DNA potential so that we can still continue this evolutionary process to regain and reclaim and heal. Anything that you wanted to add on that? Did I say that and then correctly?
Yeah. Also,
Yeah,
you talked about the 12-strand DNA. There's also starseed beings. We have 24, 36, 48, 64, and you know it goes on.
And are
So
they
there are
here
more strands.
now?
Yeah, yeah. There's many of us with a lot of strands.
Mm. So we're all helping to just really make this ascension happen, which is exciting. Universe is not shutting down. Ascension is happening, right?
It is. It's happening. Oh,
it's
yes,
happening.
big time. It's happening. You know, it's awesome. What's going on with the changes? It's amazing. And you know, I know it's hard with 3D narrative going on, but you know, just you know, definitely, it's just happening.
I just want to add something about the dark night of the soul and this shadow, which is something like to link it to what's happening in the, you know, in the terrain currently. With you know, it's good to look at the who is behind all this, not just look at the government structures and all these orders that we're getting and instructions and laws, and just really look behind this and understand that this, you know, races who invaded Earth, many, you know, invaded our time matrix millions of years ago, they have created, through genetic hybridization, they have created like almost modified some groups of humans in order to be susceptible to their, so, you know, they could inhibit them or be susceptible to their specific kind of like warring type of mindset. So we are talking about sort of this type of structure which our society has been in the last 26,000 years, which is like we talked about it before. It's very predatorial, patriarchal, kind of dominating, victimizer, we are royal and you're a slave type of mentality, yes? So this is all breaking down now, because this is it. This is what Ascension is all about. You know, we have forces, solar rays, all these new frequencies are coming in order to break this in the Earth grids, in our structures. You know, we're losing density. All this is happening. The structures are breaking, and we probably will be facing our own shadow, our own pain. So I just want to say, I just want to sort of invite our listeners and say, look, you know, we're all in this together. It's nothing to be afraid of. You know, in order to heal something, we have to feel it. So, you know, if the dark night of the soul comes, if this kind of painful shadow aspects will start coming in, we're gonna put a link on galactic history, so you will see all these events that happened, and you may just in your mind or in your heart or in your body, you will receive kind of some kind of impulse or something saying, oh, maybe it's relating to the Atlantean flood, or maybe it's relating to this electric wars, or maybe it's the rating, because sometimes, you know, everything that is happening in our life now is a repetition of the timelines that we've been before. Okay, my father was electrocuted at the age of 12, yes, because he was part of the electric wars. Okay, so he experienced electrocution in this reality. So if we look at our life and see what happened to us, we could basically look at the historical time trigger events, and we could see potentially where that event is originally, what happened. So I'm just maybe would like to reassure and maybe invite our listeners to not be afraid of this and understand this is, we're all in this together. This is happening, and not to be afraid of it. But, you know, there are plenty of resources, you know, on Ascension Glossary, how to navigate this shadow clearing process and how to navigate the, you know, reconnection, you know, reconnecting and healing and clearing the shadows so that we can become more activated to realize our potential, because everybody will be affected by that. Like everybody's affected now with what's going on, the Great Reset that they're calling it. But in a sense, it's part of this losing density, part of this. We are moving to a different reality system. And that's what's happening. So I just wanted to say that.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, it's a very important point that, you know, we've got to be, it's very uncomfortable, you know, on the outer as well as the inner. And, you know, what can we do to help ourselves, which is really facing our shadow. You know, the more we can face our shadow, the more we can heal it and transmute it, the more we help every single human being around us. You know, if we want to ask ourselves what can we be doing, it really is the most important thing we can do is heal our pain and trauma, heal our shadow selves. You know, the more of us that are connected to God's source, the more that this planet, you know, will be able to just to wipe out what is dark, to put it simply.
Yes. And then we could start recognizing the signatures behind. So when we see a human being that is very arrogant or very kind of like lacking any empathy, we will recognize that behind that there may be some entity portaling, dark portal possession type of going on, and maybe some entity who hijack the portion of that human. So it's kind of recognizing that and understanding who we are dealing with. We are dealing with these types of genetics on the planet where some beings totally devoid of empathy because they have been hybridized specifically to perpetuate that sort of agenda for control of humanity. So if we understand, it might take a little bit sort of that give bigger understanding that it's not just that human, although the human played a part in it, but if somebody was hybridized, you know, and they didn't have a choice in the matter. So this is where the compassion, our strength is in our compassion. Our strength is not in dividing ourselves and hating them or hating this and hating that. Our strength is in unity and in standing in that 0 point compassionate heart and understanding there's so much happened in this time matrix. And this is the time now to bring it all to a close, to witness it, to bless it, to heal it, and then say, okay, that's it. This timeline, this game is closed. We're ready for the other stage. So I'm also sort of want to say this, like, because at the moment the dark entities are capitalizing on us dividing. You know, they want us to divide and hate each other. They want us to hate them because they love hate. They thrive on hate. They thrive on hate. They thrive on rage. They thrive on anger.
And then
Exactly.
then they're able to keep controlling humans.
Yes.
So, you know, the more you're raising the vibration into that love and compassion, then that's it.
Yes.
You know, then they haven't got a hold.
Yes. It's standing in that compassionate, fearless heart. That it's like we have this mantra: I'm fearless and timeless, and standing and commanding the structure and understanding that these entities are trying to get in and dark portal people. So come on, say no. I see you, and I say no to you. You are not to come near my aura. You're not to come near. Talk to them like this in your mind, and you will see what happens. Because they have been capitalizing on us and not noticing that they exist. Once you start calling them out, they kind of like, they don't like it. They don't like to be called out. And we have a lot of stories to tell here about, you know.
Yeah.
We all have stories.
To add, is the 12D shield. You know, so the good resource is the crystalaegis.com, ES Foundations.com. You know, it's all fantastic resources. You can join up to ES Foundations and you learn these different techniques and tools to protect yourself, you know, as we have done, you know, and continue to do so. You know, it's a daily thing, you know, it never stops.
Yes.
Until we reach home one day. You know, or until this planet is liberated. But till then, you know, we've just got to keep protecting ourselves and using these tools and techniques. And the 12D shield is just the most powerful technique that we can ever do, really, because it's building those 12 strands, 24 strands, whatever strands you have in your light body. You can get hold of them and you can, you know, connect and just transmute all this shadow that's going on. You know?
Yes, and it also tells the entities that your structure, your aura, your energy field is under the jurisdiction of Christ, under the jurisdiction of law of one, the Christ consciousness. you know, and they don't like it. They may still try to get in through different pockets that we haven't healed, but at least you're doing your bit in saying, hey, this is
my intent, consent,
yeah,
and authority in God's natural laws. My intent, consent, and authority is authority of God. You know, deferring your ego
yes,
over and over
yes,
again every single day. You know, and then it just builds your field stronger, stronger, stronger. You know, you have this structure that's like, you know, you feel an entity, or you know, or it gets out the entities that's within any of your multidimensional aspects. There's another important point, you know, is really releasing what we have within our shadow bodies, to therefore, the more we have that intent, consent, and authority in Christ, then the Antichrist is just like, oh, I can't hang on anymore. You know, that density is, you know, it just goes. You know, so those dark fibers, they've got nothing to hang on to. So this is all we can do on a daily basis, you know, day in, day out. It's like, what can we do to, you know, just clear ourselves, you know, with this consent and authority that's so much needed within ourselves, and, you know, and we can reverberate it out in our communities and, you know, everyone that we love, really.
yes, and also calling on our avatar, you know, on our future self, you know, calling on our avatar matrix self, calling on our monadic self, calling on our soul, you know, to integrate. And because, you know, these are all our future selves that are also, you know, we almost like we have families, we have guardians, we have all these kind of teams that we have. So it's also asking for help and calling on them as well. So it's like, yeah, we have a lot of assistance at the moment.
Beautiful wisdom shared by both of you. Thank you so much. That was very well said. Very well said. Very in-depth. Well, yeah. And maybe I'll just close with another little piece of advice or tip. And by saying, you know, kind of recapping, by saying that we all, you know, whether you're Earthseed, Starseed, Lightworker, no judgment there, just whoever you are, awakening population really is what it is, okay? So we've been targeted, and there's no doubt about that, like you both have said. You very eloquently explained that. And with many aggressive forms of the covert technological warfare and dark entity harassment. And so you both shared some great ideas of, you know, what we need to do, you know, as humanity to consciously participate in our rehabilitation. And I'd like to end by saying that I want to reiterate that we have a special and important job that cannot be underestimated. So I guess that just really, I really feel that in my heart when I say that. When I sense, when I look around, I see, I witness, I feel the pain and all of this craziness that goes on around me with all the people, you know, in society, etc. And, you know, what we've all shared here today is that's not it. That's the BS, and that's the consciousness trap. So just wanted to drive that home again. We have a special and an important job here to do. And we need to take responsibility for our consciousness. We need to reclaim and to heal our original 12D silicate crystal human blueprint, the Diamond Sun blueprint. And that is for each and every one of us.
Thank
I'm
you,
God, I'm
SonYA.
sovereign, I'm free.
Yes.
I think that's a part of it. That's a part of the you know, the shielding is I am God, I'm sovereign, I'm free every single day.
Yes.
And you know what you described earlier about the, you know, it's a natural frequency. It is actually God frequency. You know, it is the 12, 13, you know, 14, no, 13, 14, 15D. You know, it's the Holy Trinity. So when you say I am God, I am sovereign, I am free, that is the Holy Trinity that you are calling into your body and light body.
Father, Mother, Christ, Sophia. Yeah.
Mm.
Father,
Yeah,
Mother,
yeah.
Holy Father, Holy Mother, Ray, Holy Father, Holy Mother.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Beautiful. Well,
Thank you. It's
seems
really
like we're wrapping
cool.
up. Are we done?
Wrapping up
Round table
time.
today.
Wrapping up
Yeah,
time?
getting tired.
We'll give it to you, Linda.
Okay. Yes. Well, thank you for joining us today, and we hope you join us next podcast for some more roundtable discussion and all of our musings and sharing our journeys. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just take what resonates and discard the rest, and we see you next time. Thank you. And we're going to just close down with our prayer. Okay, let's go into our GSF flames. God, sovereign, free. Beloved God and the eternal Christ families serving the law of one, please amplify our prayer request. As the avatars of Christ Sophia and the true spirit that we are, for one and for all, we pray for the sovereign rights of all humanity to be restored to God's natural laws on this earth. May all those that are awakening, feeling betrayed, feeling confused by this anti-human war that is playing out, we lovingly decree that their hearts are healed, their spirits reclaimed in the Holy Trinity, our beloved Mother and Father, the Christ Sophia that has returned to this earth. May we stand strong with love and courage. We pray on behalf of all children, of all humanity, that human trafficking and satanic ritual abuse continues to be revealed so it can end completely. May the truth set us free. In unity we will prevail. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And so it is. Thank you, God.
So it
Thank you,
is.
God. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.